Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the greatest era of the Pokemon TCG. I wanted to give you guys a quick tutorial on how you can export your cards from Magic Set Editor into a program where you can print them to play in person, or you could always save the files and put them into an online client or something of that nature to be able to play with your friends, or use them by yourself to do play testing and things like that. So I noticed that I've got a typo there. I want that to be the logo for the Fire Energy, so we'll fix that quickly, save it. And then if you go up into this file here in the top left, partway down you see this export feature. If you hover over that, you've got these images here. So you've got the option to put it straight into the internet, although I don't know how this function actually works, but HTML is the online language. You've got card image, so if you select this one, you can see that there's just one little card icon there. That's because this one only exports that selected card. So if I picked this one, it would just do Nathaniel's Ho-Oh, but I would like to do all of the cards in this set, so we're going to do all card images. Then it brings you to this screen here. Format, they'll give you the card name, so this will have all the different names that you see here, these different titles that I've given to these cards. And then it gives you the option to change the file format. So if you'd rather it be a JPEG, you could change this to be .jpg and it'll export as a JPEG. I like to use PNGs because it gives you more flexibility after the fact, and I'll show you what I do after I've exported these to add a little bit more variety to the cards. So that's that feature. You can always change that. I like to leave it as the standard .png. Then if you have multiple files, so this could be either you have a previous version of this particular card that you would like to try again, or if you've got multiple cards that have the same name in this set. So Pokemon has done that in the past where you've got multiple of the same name of a card, but they are different cards. So you can decide how you want to do that. So it'll let you keep the old file, it'll let you keep the new file and get rid of the old one. Or what I like to do is to add a number to the file. So for example, if I would have already exported a Nathaniel's Ho-Oh and then I wanted to export this one as well, it would simply add a 1 after this card title. So that way you can keep track of everything that you're doing there. Then if you've got custom ones that you want to export and not all of them, you can select this one and then you press here and you'll be able to check or uncheck the ones that you want versus the ones that you don't. But I'm just going to do the entire set here. So I'm going to do OK. And then I'm going to put it onto my desktop here. And then you'll be able to see a whole bunch of stuff will populate on my desktop. So we'll save. And then it'll spin for a little while because it's thinking. And once the spinning stops, we'll be able to minimize out of here and see what we've got. Depending on your set size, the number of cards in the actual set will dictate how long this takes. Obviously, the fewer cards, the less time it will take to do that. So as you can see, all the cards are here all over my my desktop now. So this has created a huge mess, which is perfect because this is what I wanted it to do. And you can see it just simply names all of the cards as their title. So if you wanted to change the name that this is, let's say you wanted to add a number to the end of this to make it more indexable, you'd be able to change these and rename, and then you'd be able to, oops, did I not click that correctly? Rename, and then you'd be able to put, so let's say we wanted to do that this is card number 12 or something like that. So that's that option. Then one way that you can do this part is, let's say that you wanted to put it into a Google Doc, create a new blank document. We're going to say this is, whoops, why are you not working? We're going to title this Nathaniel's deck list. So that way we can put some cards here and then print it off. There are other programs that you can use to do this. I have not tried too many of them just yet, but after I have done that, I will show you guys how that works. So the page setup for a Google Doc, you need to have all of your margins shrunk down so that way the cards will fit. So what you do is you go into this file, down to page setup here towards the bottom, click that and you'll get that screen that I had up before. Change the margins to be smaller, and then you take this route here, insert image, and you go from the computer, and if you go to the desktop where all of the images were that I just did, I would like to have Nathaniel's Charmander, and as you can see, the card is way too big. If you watched my other video, that's a good thing. If you make a card smaller, you don't lose as much quality. If you take a small card and try to enlarge it, you will lose quite a bit of the quality. So if you go into the image options at the top, you can pick how big you want it. A standard Pokemon card is 2.5 by 3.5. The 2.5 inches is the width, so we'll do that. So 2.5, and then it automatically scales it on the height direction. This lock aspect ratio will allow you to do that. If this is not checked, I'll show you what that does here. So if we uncheck this and then we make the width bigger, you'll notice that the width will grow, but the height will stay the same. So it won't look correct. It'll look stretched out instead of the way that it's supposed to. So we'll make this 2.9, and it got shrunk in the vertical direction up and down. It got stretched out in the horizontal direction, so this card would look weird if you were to print this. So we'll go back to the 2.5 and we'll relock the aspect ratio. So now we can simply insert the next one. Insert image again from the computer. And we'll go with Charmeleon because, of course, we would want to give him a full evolution line. 2.5. Scroll up so we can see it. There we go. It is indeed the correct size. If you would keep this selected, you can see the blue border around it, and you would go back into insert another picture. You would actually replace the picture that's here. So make sure that your cursor is off to the side before you do the next one, and then insert the next image. So insert again from computer, Nathaniel's Charizard. Again, way too big. Change the size, 2.5. Deselect, click over here, insert another image, upload. And then we want the Houndour and Houndoom. We'll simply finish up with those. 2.5. Insert image. And Houndoom. Again, size 2.5. Oh, not 0.25. 2.5. There we go. That looks better. And one more just so we don't waste too much space. We'll do the Iowa Hawkeyes fight song. He is a huge Iowa Hawkeyes football fan, so that's why I've got this included in his set. Okay, so let's say that this is the card layout that we want to go with. Excuse me. So we've got our 6 cards we would like to print. So we go here to this little printer icon, click print. Once it loads the preview, comes up. I get this waiting for printer connection all the time. You may not. This is because, again, my internet has been crappy, so it gets interrupted all the time. So we'll have to see if this will actually connect or not. We are back. Messed around with the printer settings, and I think we are finally going to be good to go. All right. So if you click this drop-down menu, you should see your printer right here. If you have not used Google to print something before, that might not be selected automatically. And if you go here and you click this See More button, you will go into a new screen that looks like this, and you'll have all these different options for your printer. Select the one that you would like to print to. This one is the one that I've got sitting right next to me. So when you click print, it will print off this page, and you can cut these out and put them into card sleeves. If you have it just on a regular sheet of paper, you might want to put a playing card or like an energy or something behind it to give it a little bit more feel to this. Or what I like to do is I like to print these directly onto a cardstock paper, so that way I can forego putting a card behind it. This is just the card itself, and then I clip the corners to make them more rounded like a real Pokemon card would be. But you can do that however you would like. So if you simply click print, it will print out on your sheet of paper, and you can cut them out. And depending on your printer and your printer settings, it will make these cards look as good or as bad as the printer allows. So I do not have the technology to show you that just yet, but I ordered a camera, which should come soon. So when that does, I will have these cards printed out, and I will show you the process for printing, clipping the corners, and then putting them into sleeves. And I am really looking forward to that. So, and finally, the last thing that I wanted to highlight was what I do to touch these up a little bit, make them more my own, more realistic, is I like to add a set symbol, and I've also got the first edition logo that you can put on the cards as well. And what I like to do for that is open up a new window of GIMP and exit out of all of the options that it gives you right away at the beginning, just because I don't know what the size of these cards are at the moment. So picking the wrong size would give you the wrong canvas, and you wouldn't be able to very easily resize that. So if you simply get rid of all that stuff and then you drag your card in here, it will automatically size it to be correct. So you can see that we don't have a first edition logo, which would be right here, or a set symbol. Magic Set Editor does have a set logo option, but with the Pokemon templates, it doesn't work very well. And I haven't given the time or effort to try to fix that yet. So I actually find it much easier to simply put it in GIMP here and just put the symbols on this way, and then export these again, and then overwrite the files that we just put onto our desktop. So I have the set symbols in my stuff here somewhere. Let's see. They are set icons or set symbols. I don't remember exactly which. Okay, here we go. So in the folder I have here, I've got a bunch of these. Some of these are real ones, others are ones that I found online. So you've got the Base Set 2 logo right here. This is the Aquapolis logo, and then the first edition logo. So we're going to put the first edition logo onto this Nathaniel's Ho-Oh here. So we'll simply take this PNG file, this photo image file, click on it, and then click and drag it. And it's not going to be the right size when we put it in here. It's going to be way too big, so we need to resize and reposition it. So now that we have this here, I want to go over to this right hand panel. You can see these little icons right here. So this is whether it's visible or not, this little eye. This lock icon locks the layer that you're using. These two are called layers. This first edition is a layer, and it's over the top of this Nathaniel's Ho-Oh layer. So if we wanted to lock this one into place so that way we don't do anything to the Nathaniel's Ho-Oh, we want this to be locked in its position. So we don't want it to get resized or repositioned. So we'll click that to lock it. Excuse me. Then we want to select this top layer that gives us the first edition, and then we want to change this. So we're going to select tools, and then we've got these transform tools. So this is how you can realign it, move it, or scale, which is what we're going to do first. So if we scale this, that changes the size, and if we take one of these corners and drag it, just like we did with the cards in the Google Drive on our document, we want this to remain in scale. So we don't want it to stretch and shrink only in one direction. We want it to scale in both directions. So the way that we lock that is this little lock icon here between the width and the height. So if we would click on this, it would break it. So now this lock is broken. So now we could make this only shrink that direction or only shrink in this direction. We want to reset that so that we can actually do this correctly. So I'm going to relock that, and then I'm going to drag a corner. So once this looks like it's about the right size, we're going to click scale, and that locks this into that new size. Now you can see that some of it is missing. That's because it's off the canvas. The edge of the yellow here, this border, is as large as the canvas is going to be. So if we were to export this and make this into a new PNG that we're going to put on our desktop, this would be how it looks. It wouldn't include this stuff that's off the edge of the canvas. So we need to move it so that way we can actually see that. So this is still selected. This first edition is still selected. But now we're going to transform tools and we're going to move it. So now we won't resize it. We'll simply move it into place. And the first edition logo kind of goes in this corner here. And you can see it's still not the right size. So in order to fix that, again, we're going to transform it once more, scale, and then we're going to drag from this corner until it is the correct size. And then when we click scale, now we've got our first edition logo right there. I don't know if this is the perfect size or not, but to me this looks good enough because you can see the letters here pretty clearly, and when we print it we want it to be visible, so I don't really care if this is the exact size. I want to be able to read this. So this is our excuse me, this is our first edition logo, and then why don't we pretend that this is a base set 2 card just so we can have a set symbol over on the other side too. Okay, so the background of this one, for whatever reason, is not transparent, so that is actually not going to work. So let me try something else. What if we do this one that kind of looks like balloons? Perfect. So that has a transparent background. Go back into Tools, Transform, Scale, and it's too large to see the corners, so we won't be able to select one of those corners and drag it in. So what we can do is we can actually click this minus button and it'll shrink the size. You'll see that these numbers start to go down, and it will shrink as we do that. So now we can see the corner and we can actually take it in, shrink it down. We click scale, and then we want to go into the move tool so that we can put it over the top of our card image here. We're going to have to do this again and again so that way we can not only make it the correct size but also see it and put it in the proper spot. So that's a little bit closer. We'll click scale again, Tools, transform, move, and we'll move it to this corner on the other side of the first edition. And then one more time we will scale it to be smaller. All right. Now, this looks like a real Pokemon card, other than the fact that I put not a real Pokemon card down here to indicate to anybody that sees this that this is a fake. This is not meant for selling. This is not meant for any sort of profit of any kind. I'm simply making these so I can play a fun game of Pokemon cards like we did when we were friends, when we were kids. So I am going to save this as the excuse me, the card that it was originally. So if you wanted to name this something else, like completed Nathaniel's Ho-Oh or something, you would want to click export as over here on this drop down menu under file. But you can see right here, because I dragged Nathaniel's Ho-Oh from the desktop into GIMP, you can actually just click this overwrite button and it'll overwrite Nathaniel's Ho-Oh just like that. However, I am going to export as, and then I'm going to put it into a different spot. So I am going to show you how this works. So in the export image, again, you can change it from PNG to JPEG or however else you wanted to do that. Then it gives you a bunch of options of where you want to save this. So on the desktop here, you've got all my stuff that's on the desktop. The PNGs that are here, you can select to overwrite one of these other ones too. If you're working on a different one in this same window, you can always do this and then it'll overwrite. This one would overwrite the item card Nathaniel's Air 1s. But I would like to put it into completed set files. So these are some of the sets that I've got downloaded for Pokemon as well as other games, Magic the Gathering and things. So I'm going to save this one as... Oh, it's not letting me rename it. Why is that? Okay, here we go. So ends Ho-Oh. And then this will save as a PNG file, or we could again do it as a different one. Now it gives you some options. So you can compress it so it saves more space. You can save it as all these other types of things. You can change the metadata. But I don't know enough about this stuff to tell you about what that does. As it is, if you simply leave these settings where they are, you click export, it'll look just like it does here. So we export. And then if we click out of here, and then we discard the changes because we've already got that card saved, completed set files, and then ends Ho-Oh right here. We are going to open this in preview instead of, or photos, instead of GIMP, just so we can see that this actually does just work like this. Okay, so now we can zoom in, click here and we can zoom in. We can see it better. And there it is. We don't need to do any more editing on it because it looks the way that we want to. So you would just do this for all of your cards if you wanted it to have a first edition stamp and a set logo. A shortcut if you would like to do this excuse me, with multiples rather than having to resize all of the rather than resizing every single card. What you can do is put in each card as a new layer and then reselect them. So we'll go, let's see if this remembers it. Okay, so we're going to open that selected image. So here we've got Nathaniel's Ho-Oh again, and we're going to insert those two features, or maybe we'll just do one for the sake of time. So in Magic set symbols, we'll just do the first edition stamp here. So now that that's in, we know that we're going to make it way smaller, so we can do that right off the bat. Scale that down. Then move it again. Tools, transform, move. Tools, transform, move. Move that one. There we go. All right, that's much better. Okay. One more transform, scale to make it the actual size we want. Click scale to lock it in. All right, there we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now we've got the Nathaniel's Ho-Oh background, and the first edition stamp is a layer over the top of it. So think of this like a blanket, and then this as a small blanket that you put over the top of that blanket. So the option here is to, so we would export this. So we would have a Nathaniel's Ho-Oh with a first edition logo in the corner. And then what we can do to make this a shorter process, because all of the exports are the same size, we can put a new card over the top. So we'll use Nathaniel's Houndoom here. No, that'd be a bad example because the first edition logo is not the right color. Let's do Nathaniel's Arcanine. So when we drop that next card in, it will be in the exact spot. Nope, it's not. Why is it not in the exact spot that we need it to be? Normally, it would put the new layer directly into the canvas, so that way you have all the edges are exactly at the edge of where they need to be. One way that you can manually do this is go into the transform and move, and then there's a way to align it in the X and Y directions. So you would simply do X direction 0, Y direction 0, and it puts the top left corner here into the top left corner. I forget exactly how to do that. Maybe I'll look into how to do that later. But you can see that this edge here is basically at the edge where we want it to be. And we've got the Nathaniel's Ho-Oh layer still here. So if we would get rid of this Arcanine layer by clicking the eyeball, it would make the Arcanine layer invisible and Ho-Oh's back. If we wanted to get rid of the Ho-Oh layer, of course we'd have to unlock it, so that way we can do things again. And now it's just the first edition stamp. So we bring this back. First edition is now here. The Nathaniel's Arcanine is now in the frame, and we can export it like this. Here's where overwriting wouldn't be helpful, because now it's going to overwrite Nathaniel's Ho-Oh instead of Nathaniel's Arcanine. So export as. Here we could come in and we could select Nathaniel's Arcanine, and now it would overwrite the correct card. Again, I'm not going to do that because I want this to be in the completed set. So we're going to go ends Arcanine. Excuse me. I'm getting sick, so my voice just sounds awful right now. Export. And after that's finished, now we've got a first edition Arcanine in the spot that we want, although this isn't working correctly. There we go. It brings up this features thing. So changing the properties of the PNG, then export. Now it'll work. Again, if we go into that completed set files thing here, ends Arcanine, we can open with photos, and then we can see that our card has the first edition logo. So that would save you some time if you wanted to have a set symbol or the first edition symbol on your cards. So I will continue to work on this set, and I'm really excited to show you guys what these all look like after I have printed them out, cut them, and then put them into card sleeves, so that way we can sit down at a table and actually play them in person. So until I see you again, have a good one.